My special guest tonight is one of the great stars of classical music. He's the main reason 40 million children in China play the piano. He's Lang Lang. This is Masterclass. The story we have to tell you is by any standards a remarkable one. Basically, it's the fairy tale come true, the greatly gifted working class boy overcoming prejudice and jealousy to reach the pinnacle of his profession. Lang Lang is box office and as contrary to the popular image of the great concert pianist as can be imagined. He likes Gershwin and hip-hop, Frank Sinatra and Britney Spears, jazz and rap music. He's attracted a new audience to concert halls. The Financial Times said he's evangelical in his efforts to spread the popularity of classical music. Time magazine listed him among the top 100 most influential people in the world. But his is also the story of ambition becoming obsession and threatening the relationship between a boy and his father. Ladies and gentlemen, Lang Lang.
Looking good. So far.
Can we just fill in a bit about this remarkable, truly remarkable story of yours? I mean, first of all, how old were you when you discovered that you had a gift for playing piano?
I would say maybe at 5 years old. I gave the first recital. And I was awfully nervous the night before, so I went to 10 times into the toilet. But during the concert, I felt great, and I especially liked the lights on the stage. It's a bit like today, really warm, nice color.
And you're not shy, you liked it, it moved you, it made you confident. And,
absolutely.
And you found it all very agreeable. At the age of 5. I also actually found here in Lang Lang this book you wrote about 3 years ago.
Yes.
So it's a fascinating book. I found the schedule of the day when I think you must have been about 6 at school. You're practicing, apart from going to school, you're practicing 6 hours a day.
Sometimes, not every day.
Not every day. But it then said 6 hours and then homework as well.
Right.
At the age of 6. I mean, the point is the obsession for you, from behalf of your parents and yourself, to make the grade was extraordinary.
For me, I really wanted to become a pianist. Obviously, in the beginning, I don't really know what is, how to become a great pianist. No. But what I know is that I really love music and I really like to achieve my dream.
Yes.
And I realized, plus I have a very father, so that helps sometimes.
Well, your father's more than pushy. He was, in a way, obsessed with making you #1. Let's talk about that #1 concept, first of all, because it's interesting. In China, it's all about being #1, no matter what you are, isn't it?
I mean, of course, it's not for everybody, but in some of the, some people, obviously, that being the best is something very important. I mean, in sports, probably slightly different, but in music, later I went to America, I realized it's not that important as, every day to calling, oh, I want to be #1, because in art, the important thing is to really achieve your emotions rather than, I want to be #1.
But I mean, your parents were, your father particularly was driven by the ambition to make you the greatest, to actually see his son become a great pianist. And when you were, what, 9, you left home with this purpose in mind, to go to Beijing, to enter a competition there. What was it, 12 people to be chosen from 3,000 or something?
Right. I mean, I actually went to Beijing when I was 9 to preparing the audition to get to the Central Conservatory Elementary department.
Yes.
So basically, once you get into that that grade, 5th grade,
Yes.
you are actually starting to become a professional pianist. The training has become quite professional.
Now here we come to one of the most extraordinary aspects of your life. You're only 9, and you have a tutor at the school called Professor Angry. We never learn her real name, who didn't like you. And she told your father that in fact you're unteachable, you're useless. Tell me then what happened with your father. What did he do?
No, I mean, my father was under very major pressure because he actually quit his job. So our life really depends on my mother's salary.
Your mother was at home,
yes,
earning the living, and then wanted to send you money for food.
Yes, exactly. And of course, we lived in the cheapest place and run down neighborhood to save money. So then we need to pay the teacher all the time for piano lessons. And she actually, she had some problem. I don't know what happened, but she just doesn't like what I do on the pianos. And then not only that, she actually said something really nasty after every lesson. Like she's like, "Oh, you don't play well. The way you play is kind of like potato fields or something. You're making cabbage or And she's even saying, "Oh, yeah, probably because you're from the north, and you have a good fields." And then one time, like she said to me, you play, you're really not talented, and I think that you should go home, forget about being a pianist, and just thinking about something else. Music's not your thing. So I got fired. So she said, no, I don't want to teach you anymore, and there's no future. You're wasting my time and your time. So I got kicked out.
You were 9.
Yeah.
Your father's reaction. So
I got fired, and I didn't want to practice anymore. So I was a bit of disappeared, from practicing. So then my father was waiting for me to come back to practice. So and then I went to somewhere and I was playing football or something. So then after that I was out for a few hours. Then my father waited for me, and then I think over that few hours, he's totally went wild, And then after I got back home, he said, there are a few things. You should either go home to the hometown, or you should just kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, and that was horrible, of course.
He gave you
some pills, yeah.
He gave you some pills.
Yeah, but I didn't need
to take them. No, you didn't. I know that. But it must have been. I mean, for a child, that must have been an awful experience.
It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I mean, the first year after I left my hometown, it was like really dark. It was everything went wrong. It just and. Yeah, it was a horrible time. But one thing I didn't really understand is that I gained so much weight. And that was the thing I never really got it. It was so, it was so under pressure, and then I gained so, and then my mom came later and she said, "Why you look like that?"
But I mean, you were in the end reconciled with your father, but for a while, you wouldn't play at all. You just gave it up.
Yeah, for a while, I actually hated piano. I thought maybe that's the reason I left my mom. I got kicked out by the teacher, and my father almost killed me. So I start blame on the piano for a while.
And what got you back? What's changed?
And then at school, at a public school, I was actually a company for the school choirs. So they start asking me, "Oh, why you don't play piano anymore?" I said, "I retired." And they said, "What? 9? You got retired? Are you crazy?" And I said, "Piano is horrible. I don't want to be a pianist." And then I got fired by my teacher, and she said I should think about other things. Piano is not my thing. And so they were starting laughing, you know, and then someone brings a Mozart sonata, the score at the music class, and they say, yeah, look at this, see what you think. And then I didn't want to play, but those kids were so encouraging. They were like, hey, play. And somehow I kind of, there was, if I don't play, then they will keep talking, you know, and then they will keep pushing. So then I sat down and start playing. This was one of the Mozart sonata, the slow movement. And then I found, wow, music is so beautiful. Why should I give up? And then I'm like, yeah, screw that teacher. Let's start again.
And you did. I mean, in the end, I mean, it all came good. Like in all the best fairy stories, you and your father were reconciled. And when you went to America, you actually arranged for him, because he was a musician and had ambition too. You arranged for him to play at Carnegie Hall with you, didn't you? Yeah,
that was my Carnegie recital debut. Actually, my father played a few really big concerts. He played with me at my Carnegie Hall debut, and then he played with me on my debut recital at the Royal Albert Hall during the proms. Yeah, so, and after that 2 concerts, he's retired.
He's retired.
Yeah, he said, oh, that's fine, I made it, he said.
Well, let's have a look at your father, because he was a very fine musician.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
And he plays the Eru, which is this one single string.
Two strings.
Oh, it's 2 strings.
It's a difference between the Western culture and Chinese culture. Is look into what they use in China is chopstick. So that's why this, you know, the Chinese instrument, it only has 2 strings. And in the West, it's fork. Okay, so that's why you have 4 strings on the violin or cello.
I don't believe a word of it. but let's have a look. What are you playing, by the way, with your father?
It's called a horse riding. It's kind of like competition between 2 horses.
All right, and this is 2008, and this is at the Royal Albert Hall, the proms. Let's have a look here now. Do you think, looking back now as a mature man, looking back at that point in your life, do you think you would have made it without him? I mean, was that the only way you were going to get to the top?
If you look into my background, which was born in Shenyang, which is a pretty big city in China, but not very internationally renowned at that time, and to learn Western classical music, which is, you know, the piano. And I still remember my first concert in London, and some journalist from here were asking me, why you play piano? You know, you're from China, you should do Chinese instrument. I still remember, you know, the first interview I had in UK. And I would say, if I was born in New York or London or Western, you know, countries, probably there will be many more possibilities, you know, to have a career. But from what I got, you know, from my hometown, with the facilities and the environment, I think that is absolutely one of the key of success was the dedication of both of my parents.
And it was they who gave you this love of Western music.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that you raised, because it is such a different culture, isn't it? And Chinese music is so different from Western music. So from your point of view, having been introduced to it by your parents, How difficult was it for you to understand Bach, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Russian music, Tchaikovsky? I mean, very different from Chinese music.
Right, yeah, exactly. When I was a kid, I actually growing up listening to Mozart, Tchaikovsky, Chopin, and Liszt, many great composers. So for me, it was kind of like my first language. So I didn't feel the barriers. But then I realized when I turned 12, I went to Germany for the first time to join the international piano competition. And I listened to other kids play from other countries. And I felt the difference. And I felt the difference of education. And I felt there's some distance. And of course, when I was 12, I don't see the big gap. But then, if I'm just keep learning exactly the same what I learned in China, it will be very difficult to develop as a mature classical pianist.
But so given all that, what do you bring to the interpretation of music? Is it different because of that background of yours, confronting this music which is from a different culture, written by Europeans and people like that?
I would say it's almost like learning language and learn history. So you need to have the environment to learn the right style, certain styles. When you have that, there's not a major difference between Asian pianists or Western pianists. If you learn, Shakespeare, you learn those great Western novels, and then you work with the great musicians from the West, and then it just then you actually get the same kind of knowledge. So when you start playing, there's not a major difference. But if you only focus on the Chinese culture, Chinese culture studies, only listen to Chinese music, and then suddenly you start playing Mozart sonata, it doesn't fit.
That's fascinating. So it's all of it, all of that cultural aspect is bound in together.
Yeah, it needs to have the environment.
You also say you're going to play some Liszt now. You did say, and you say in your book, that when you think of Liszt, you think of Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
How? What's the connection there?
Yeah, Liszt was actually the first biggest music stars in the world.
Was it the first big pop star?
Yeah, he was absolutely, during his time, he's the most famous musician on earth.
What are you going to play for us now then?
I'm actually playing something that to show the other side of Liszt, which is the quiet side, not the flashy side people always know about him, and it's the romance for the piano.
It's very beautiful. Lang Lang, please stand up. How many major works do you carry in your head?
A lot of things. Let me see. I think if if we count concertos,
Yes.
and the solo works,
Yes.
I would say about 50 hours of work I can memorize.
Really?
I think, yeah. I may be wrong, maybe 49 hours.
That's extraordinary. So you just, it's there carried in your mind. It's in the computer there, filed away. And I suppose also that those things that you learn as a child too, they're ingrained, aren't they? Particularly in your mind, things that you learn in your childhood.
You know, my mentor, Daniel Barenboim, said to me, you better learn everything before 26 years old. Because when you hit 26 years, the magic number, you kind of still remember things fast, but then you forget things fast. Yes. Is that what he said? So far, I'm 30 now. It's okay. Maybe from 36, maybe.
Yes, maybe that's a crucial time. Okay, I wanted to take some questions from the audience now, because this is part of the show. Susan Dalton is first up. Susan, where are you?
Hello.
Ah, there you are, Susan. You're, of course, from the Musicians Benevolent Fund.
Yes.
I know you from that.
Yes.
So what is the question you have?
Well, at the Musicians Benevolent Fund, we've recently seen a massive rise in working musicians coming to us because they've got performance-related injuries or stress. It can be a really tough job, and I just wondered how you cope with the stresses and pressures of being a musician who's constantly in the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are quite challenging, physically and mentally. And the first time when I got a little injured, it was actually a very minor thing, but I was so nervous, you know, especially when I see my father's face, got me more nervous. And then I start panic. And then it's actually, after 2 weeks, it's you know, disappeared. So it was not a major problem. But we need to be careful, especially when you practice a lot. You always need to maybe take a hot bath or get a proper massage, like what athletes does.
Yes.
And for pianists, we need it because our shoulder is always, you know, on the move, and we need to relax the tension, always.
And what about do you find that there's a mental stress too? I mean, you do what, about 150 concerts a year?
130 now, yeah. 20 concerts less.
That's a lot of concerts. Yeah. And traveling.
Yeah.
So that's stressful too. So
yeah, traveling, I mean, especially when you're you know, in the line, try to get into the customs, sometimes can be 1 hour. You know? I see the stamp, it's like every 2 minutes. Yeah, so it's...
1 hour's quick here. All right, fine, thank you. The next question is from Simon Payne. Simon, where are you? There, Simon.
I'd like to know, how do you start to learn a new piece of music? And when do you know that it's good enough, ready to perform?
When I was a kid, my teacher always gave me kind of homework, which is new repertoire. And I just look at it and I start practice. And then later, I start to listen a lot on what other pianists play. My age or slightly older or younger, and they start playing. Sometimes I hear some music I really love, and then I like to learn it. And now I would say that the music, I'm trying to plan ahead, like 5-year plan, or 3 years. Maybe 5 is too much. So 3-year plan, and to have all the repertoires that I felt that I should learn, or I like to learn. You know, so there are two sides. Because some of the piece you may learn, but maybe not good for performance. It's good for study. So then, when you set up this 3-year plan, then you start to have a precise analyzing on the scores, and listen to other recordings, read the history of the pieces, and learn the culture from the piece, the composers come from, and then work with musicians, not only pianists, but violinists, flutists, get different ideas, and talking to artists, painters, or novelists, to get more precise on how you would like to express yourself, or what is the closest way to the original score. And then you combine all those things. And then you start performance. You need to perform a few times to get yourself totally connected with the piece. And when you get that connection, everybody else will feel the bridge in between.
How do you know when you made that connection? What is it in your... What is there a moment when you think, I've nailed that?
Once, like, when you practice, you try to bring everything you need to be focused on, and you try to make that sound work, and you try to have the absolute control and the tempo. I mean, basic tempo is probably, in the end, it's less focused as before, but it's really the meaning you're trying to bring out from the music. And it need to get it always need to get closer and closer to your heart and your sense, in a way that once you get that, you feel that the things or the sound you produced get convinced, by yourself. And then somehow when you find, especially after you play it, and you need to always listen back, recordings, and look into the scores, and to try to see whether the interpretation you are trying to achieve on the keys, whether it really makes sense when you read it on the scores. So in a way that's a kind of a long time process, but eventually you will get it. Eventually.
Do you ever achieve perfection in your own mind?
There's no, I mean, in art, we are trying to make the best out of it, but unfortunately, I don't know what is perfection in art.
No, that's a big question. Yeah. Now, we want you to do now the masterclass. And we have a student from the Royal College of Music, Katerina Grew. She's in her final year there, and she's going to play, well, she'll tell you what she's going to play, and then you can decide, and then maybe help her on her way. Would you welcome, please, Katerina Grew?
How are you?
So you're in your final year at the Royal College of Music.
That's right, yes.
And you want to be a concert pianist.
Yes, I hope to be.
Oh, you hope to be. Now, the piece, what have you chosen?
I've chosen Liszt's Transcendental Etude, number 8. It's Wilde Jagd.
What's your reaction to that?
A very difficult piece.
Is it very difficult?
It's much more difficult than what I played. So I let her to do the difficult parts.
So what are you looking for then in this master class? What do you hope to get out of it?
Obviously, it's a great honor to be here and to get some advice from an active concert pianist of that greatness like Lang Lang, and just some artistic advice, I guess.
Wonderful. All right. Well, there is your piano.
Thank you.
Here is Lang Lang, and the master class. Let it begin.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Bravo. Great. Great. Bravo. Bravo. Wow. See, I tell you, I mean, that's the hard, really hard work. Sometimes I feel good to, to talk a little bit about music because it's easier to talk than playing. Seriously. Wonderful. One thing about Liszt, when you play the first 2 bars, you always need to think ahead of what's going on next. And for example, I think, when you play here, the first bar, you can already leave a bit of room for the fourth bar, which is, for me, it need to have even more intensity.
Yes.
Because of the keys and also because it's the second time. So let's try that again, to have a little bit more of contrast. Yeah, that's great. And sometimes in romantic music, it's hard to find the beats sometimes because it's very fast, has a lot of notes. And then, for example here, for me, if you can play slightly less pedal for the first time, then I can hear more clearly. Then, everything will be easier to hear sound for the second time. So, you can do a little bit more than that. Yeah. Hold on. Ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, bum. Yeah. Okay, so now we have this brilliant. That was great. The dancing part is really good. But don't play every time bum ba ba bum ba ba bum ba ba. Bum ba bum bum ba bum bum ba bum bum. And here. Yes. Yeah, this time you can play a little bit louder. Yes. For me, it can be slightly less busy here, because it's in the lower register on the piano, so slightly little deeper sound
on the melody.
Yeah, and also, everywhere. Yeah, that's the right sound, and then I'll play in tempo. No. See, the second time. It has a little slur there. And then now it goes up. line. Softer. Be careful, a little bit with the pedaling. It's a bit of messy, a bit. Yeah. Yes. More. When you go up, you can take a little bit more time. Pom, pom, pom. That's it. And then, can you make it slightly louder on the first note? That's the climax. That's it. Open your heart. Yeah, good. And be careful. Now I like, when you change feeling to a little bit of sadness, right? That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
That master class is extraordinary. When you go to China and give master classes there, people queue for hours to come and hear them, don't they?
I actually started a school in China called Lang Lang Music World. Seriously, from this January 1st. So we have like 78 kids age under 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and there's like 3 years old start playing. It's really cute.
You once said about it, you said that classical music helps children learn the shape of life's experience. How's that?
For example, just a simple music. Hear the music phrase. So each of the piece actually has individual life stories, and each of the artwork will help us to open up the possibilities of our life experience. And obviously, from our life experience, even though maybe 5-year-old kids doesn't have so much life experience, but when they really try to bring their stories from their real life into the music making, you already see the combination of two lives. And for me, that's fascinating, because in music, we learn how to live. And from the real living experience, we learn music.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because music has taken you, as you explained earlier, into every aspect of art.
Yes.
Into painting, into literature, into Shakespeare you've read. All of that yes. Complete cultural education, because your father insisted you play the piano. Or you couldn't help playing the piano. Tom and Jerry was your great...
Yeah, Tom and Jerry was my first teacher.
Yes.
Sure. And then... of course, I cheated. I played with two hands. But Tom had a spaghetti in
Excellent, yeah. Let's now have the final questions from Kelly Stevenson. Kelly? There you are.
Hello.
Kelly, hi.
If your life was a piece of music, which would it be and why?
That's a very difficult... First, maybe we should ask Sir Michael. I mean, what will be if you like to compare your life to a music?
I think the beginning of the Tchaikovsky.
Wow, you're brilliant. Life.
You like that? Don't you?
So, Sir Michael. I think I'm not as exciting as Sir Michael. So, but I would like to live a long life. So it will be the Bach-Goldberg variation.
All right.
So start pretty slow.
It's beautiful.
And then you have more than 30 variations later. And it's repeat, so it's pretty long. So that will be, I think.
Very well. Thank you, Kelly. I wanted to thank you for all that you've given tonight. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a remarkable insight into your great talent, and thank you for sharing it with us. Finally, we're going to, or you're going to play Chopin's Waltz No. 1. Now, why this particular piece? What's the significance of it to you?
It's one of my favorite waltz by Chopin. And I think, every year, every New Year, we have the Vienna New Year's concert, and there's a lot of Johann Strauss. And I think it would be interesting one year if we have the Chopin waltz as the piano New Year. That would be interesting.
Yeah, lovely, yeah. So you're going to play us out with that tonight?
Yeah, the first one.
Lang Lang. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next, Lang Lang performs with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra at the Sydney Opera House.